Just everything.
Everything.
Every level. I have nothing to lose. It's impossible to fire federal employees. I don't know.
I feel like I'm gonna get James to accuse here.
I work for the State Department. It's impossible to fire federal employees. I don't know.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
Just everything. Every level.
All right, welcome to the Patriot Hour. All right, we got a special presentation of this Deep State Unmasked Project Veritas, just released like a half hour ago. All right, so again, welcome to the Patriot Hour. This is Project Veritas. James O'Keefe doing great things over there. We're going to watch this, sit back, relax, and please subscribe to the channel, and the information for this video's link will be down below. Please support Project Veritas and all they do, all the great things they've been doing for a long time. Again, here we go. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show.
We've heard a lot about the deep state, a vast administrative bureaucracy, what some have called an extra-legal state within a state, anonymous, faceless, resistors seeking to thwart the consent of the governed and undermine a duly elected president. Many have called it a conspiracy theory, but after a recent New York Times op-ed, that conspiracy has turned into a political reality. For more than a year, Project Veritas has been investigating the deep state. We have caught, on our undercover cameras, conspirators admitting to violating their ethics reports, illegally using government resources, and subverting government policies. What you're about to see is the hidden face of the resistance inside the executive branch of our government. These avowed socialists, this unelected cabal, would argue that they're saving America. But by thwarting the will of the people, what they're actually doing is subverting our democracy and setting up a constitutional crisis. What is truly striking is their boldness. They are not afraid. They're even boastful about a warped reality where they won't get caught and couldn't get fired, even if they did.
I have nothing to lose. It's impossible to fire federal employees. I don't know.
Stuart Carafa is a card-carrying member of the Democratic Socialists of America. Carafa may look the dull, bureaucratic State Department employee with his suit and tie, but make no mistake, this man is a radical who boasts of resistance, socialism, and the abuse of federal work rules.
I work for the State Department. I'm a civil servant, so I'm a union member and all that good stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's a little problematic. I look at it this way. So now that the administration cut my program that I was on, it was a cool data analytics program, and we were going to modernize, democratize, shine sunlight in places where it should be. And they cut it, and now I'm just straight 8:30 to 5. So it gives me so much more time and emotional bandwidth to do all of this stuff.
Carafa is not shy about how he uses his time at work to resist while being paid by the federal government.
Instead of...
So it's that, I'm going to do DSA work.
Yeah, pretty much.
You could do DSA for us.
I do. I'm careful about it. I don't leave a paper trail. I leave email. I need fresh. Sometimes I leave that until after 5:30. But as soon as 5:31 hits, got my draft messages ready to send up.
Nice.
Carafa explains to our journalist that he waits till after official work hours to disseminate DSA-related emails that he had drafted while at work. Carafa thinks this delayed delivery will somehow protect him and his job.
Yeah, you got the work done. Ready, you just gotta press send now.
Right. So that was like, what is public record in this room? I mean, maybe someday I'll go to Board of Elections jail. Probably not.
U.S. State Department Stuart Carafa is bragging about how he improperly conducts campaign work for DSA during work hours. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I actually dropped out of law school after 1 year. But Steve Klein here actually graduated from law school. Steve, what is Stuart doing that is illegal?
Well, he's committing a fundamental violation of the Hatch Act by engaging in political activity while working for the federal government.
And Steve, what is this Hatch Act?
Well, the Hatch Act was designed specifically to prevent that kind of activity, to prevent your and my tax dollars from going to subsidize political activity, whether it's Republican, Democrat, or the Democratic Socialists of America.
Wow.
You guys don't have do you guys have cameras like on your cubicles?
No, God no. But like, I mean, you could put two and two together probably.
Right.
With like web traffic.
Carafa is deeply involved in the Democratic Socialist political campaign efforts both in D.C. and Virginia, as evidenced by his private messages on the DSA internal communications app.
With like web traffic and, I mean, I could make the case before like a court of law that I'm going to the Virginia sort of campaign finance website that I'm just interested in what people are doing politically.
Right.
But if they also go and look at like DSA minutes and like officer positions, they'll be like, that's weird. You were the co-chair of the Electoral Caucus and you spent 3 hours on the Virginia like campaign finance website.
So then how do you do it though? How would you do it?
I have nothing to lose. It's impossible to fire federal employees. I don't know.
Up, there it is. It's impossible to fire a federal employee. It's a refrain you're going to hear over and over again in these videos, these deep state officials using the rules of our government and lack of civil service reform to subvert the will of the people. Now, here is Richard Manning. You've been working on this government reform and oversight issue for years. Tell us what is going on here.
Well, James, the civil service system is broken. Everybody knows it. Congress knows it. And they need to do something about it. It needs to be reformed. We see a simple situation where last year, out of 2 million federal employees, 0.53% were fired. 0.53%. That means 99.5% of the federal employees were not fired in that time period. On the private sector, the number is dramatically higher.
And also talks about the federal unions he's in and how that protects him. Tell us about that and how much that costs.
Well, taxpayers are funding these federal unions, $177 million worth for salaries, rents, travel. It's obscene. And yet Congress allows that to occur also.
But like, is your supervisor cool with it, or?
Nobody knows.
Carafa also told our journalist how he gets away with his antics even though he files his required ethics and financial disclosure forms every year, forms that are meant to protect against any conflict of interest.
No one knows.
But the best part about it is that there's this ethics form that I have to submit every year to the government because I'm a contracting person. And on the contracting form, I put all of my like officer positions on it, and somebody just like rubber stamps it and it goes forward.
Nice.
So there is. So it's like a financial disclosure form, right? So if you're involved in federal contracts, you have to disclose the organizations that you're like, if you're like on a board, or if you're a financial officer. So I'm the treasurer of my neighborhood commission. So I disclose that. And so like that's if there's any contract stuff that happens in the federal government, they're like, oh, that's contracting that happens. You're on the board of this nonprofit, and all of a sudden they get a $300 million contract. They have 3 employees. And that's what, but I can disclose all of my other stuff, and the guy rubber stamping it is just kind of like, I don't know if he's all there. He's so checked out, and he's looking at this stuff like, yeah, whatever, just boom, go. And so now I can look back and be like, I don't know, the ethics offer was aware of what I was doing.
So nobody's watching, and the people who are watching don't seem to care. The State Department employee gloats about how his supervisors just rubber stamp his federal government forms. No accountability whatsoever. But when it comes to exposing government corruption, Judicial Watch is the authority, and Bill Marshall is a senior investigator there. Bill, tell us about what's going on here.
Right, James. Well, these forms were designed expressly to hold government employees accountable. And if this employee's supervisor isn't carefully reviewing the form and its contents and enforcing them, then it serves no purpose other than to provide cover for the employee's nefarious activities while he's on government time.
So what can be done to reform the system?
Government employees need to do their jobs. His employer needs to do, his supervisor needs to do his job and examine that form.
Carafa wears his DSA sensibilities and values like a badge of honor.
It's just everything.
Everything.
Every level.
At the same time we were meeting with Carafa, this memo was posted on the Metro DC DSA website, warning their members of Project Veritas and other infiltrators. As we were wrapping up production of this report, we announced on social media the upcoming release. Within hours, the Democratic Socialists of America in D.C. noticed they'd be featured in the story and began ghosting their public profiles. Internal emails and their Slack channels urged members who worked for the federal government to, quote, lock down all social media accounts and activate two-factor authorization on all important accounts, unquote. And so our deep state investigation unfolds. Finally, we get to see the faces of these shadowy figures and hear what their motivations are. It's necessary for us to unmask them, to personify them, to put a face to the individuals who seek to undermine the fabric of our republic. And we are not the source. They are the source, in their own words.